What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Adrian Ferrero of Biome Makers. You can check them out at biomemakers.com. And before I formally introduce you, Adrian, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Shockingly, I've had people who specialize in soil on the podcast. Who would have thought? I guess after doing this for 15 years, I've had a little bit of everything. But I had someone who's a soil consultant, Gene, who is owner of Tiny But Mighty Foods. And he helped increase, just being a soil consultant, he helped increase the yield of some of the corn crops he was, the farmers he was helping with, which is huge by a lot. And then he started his own company. And I love their stuff. It's like tiny but mighty, tiny little kernels that you can use as popcorn. And they have other products. The other one, because I know you help a variety of companies from potato crops to tropical crops to vineyards. And I was thinking, okay, what kind of wine companies have I had on? So I had Michael Houlihan, who started Barefoot Wines, who ended up selling it. So it was, I don't know if one point it was America's #1 wine brand based on all the sales they were making. And then Jake, founder of One Hope Wine, as well. And then obviously this is a SaaS. Biome Makers is SaaS, right? So, and we'll get into it. So there's some cool SaaS interviews. I had Mailshake, founder of Mailshake on. They do help people do cold email. I had the founder of Jotform. They have like 25 million users. So if you want the SaaS route, there's some cool interviews there. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help you connect your dream relationships and partnerships. We do that in two ways. One, we're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, accountability, and the full execution production behind the scenes. On number two, we're an easy button for a company's gifting. So we make gifting and staying top of mind for your clients, partners, prospects, and even staff. Simple, easy, affordable. All you have to do is give us a list of the people. We'll do everything else. We want to keep, we call ourselves kind of, Adrian, the magic elves that run in the background to make it stress-free for companies to build amazing relationships. And I've found no better way over the past 15 years to profile the people I admire, share with the world what they're working on, and send them sweet treats in the mail. So you can check everything out at rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. I'm excited to introduce Adrian Ferrero, co-founder and CEO of Biome Makers. And Biome Makers has revolutionized agtech by merging soil microbiome science with AI. Why is this important? Well, it helps transform the way not only we understand, but we manage soil health globally. And they like to say, and this is true, right? It relates to all of us because better soil, better food, better life. Right. And the stuff that we eat, you see, the stuff that our crops, it come from the soil. Even the stuff that the animals eat to raise the animals come from the soil a lot of times. So this is paramount in, my background is in biochemistry and as a chiropractor. So I do geek out on like the health effects of everything. And Biome Makers has scaled from a bold vision to a global biotech force, earning partnerships with Fortune 500 companies and much more. So, Adrian, thanks for joining me.
A pleasure to be here today. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, and so just start off with Biome Makers and what you do. And as you talk about it, for the people who are watching the video, I'm going to pull up the website so we can show you that as well.
That's perfect. So, well, actually, you described very well. We analyze and measure the life of the soil. That has been the revolutionary technology that we have developed and bring to life and help and to serve agriculture. This is in essence how we do it, by measuring one of the most interesting bioindicators in nature, which is the community of microbes populating the soil, all the bacteria, all the fungal species. And what we did is first find the best way to digitalize this bioindicator, and this is by using genetics. We look at the DNA of the different microbes, and from there, what we do, we start inferring the different pathways, functional pathways, on the different bioactivities that are important for plants, from nutritional mobilization, how the nutrients are made available for the plants to suck it through the roots, to disease risk or stress and hormone adaptators. We also provide an overall measurement of the biological quality of the soil, how structured, how resilient the soil is. And this is helping a lot of farmers, agronomists to really improve the way they farm to bring better crops into our tables.
This is, I find, really important also from a sustainability perspective, because if farmers could use, they're using the same resources and they can get more yield, that just helps everyone, right? And so talk about who's using this, right? I mean, we're looking at the page here. There's farmers, there's also manufacturers, there's advisors and retailers. Where did you start when you first started getting clients for this?
Well, actually,
where did you start?
everyone in the agricultural supply chain is involved in this or is benefit and using this technology, from the people who is actually farming, so the farmers, the growers worldwide. There are advisors who are really helping the grower to really find out the best way to manage the field, and then the retailers selling the different inputs, and also the food companies, the CPGs, because they are the ones who actually getting the crops to bring us amazing food into the store. So the whole circle is benefiting from the big crop technology. That's the name we provide to the company. And we started, first, as everything in life, we realized that nobody was doing this. We knew a lot about genetics. We knew a lot about how to analyze community of microbes, and decided to use this knowledge and apply it into agriculture. So the first thing was, let's focus on one first crop. That was vineyards. We started working in vineyards, and let's start developing the technology at the different steps, being sure everything works smoothly, and start interacting with our clients, our audience, let's say, to really find out the best way to give them value. So the first reports that we delivered to, actually, you mentioned one of our early adopters, One Hop. And the first reports were the list of microbes, and there were colors depending on what the science told us is good or is bad. Then what we learned, that was not the right approach. So we started digging a little bit deeper on this understanding and realized that it's not about who is there, but what they do or how they impact the plants. So then we start working on the ecological computing aspect of the community of microbes. So measuring the relationships across the different microbes, how they correlate. When you find one, you don't find other. So co-exclusion, coexistence, all kind of relationships, and then start inferring the potential functions that they can do. So that was a process of learning, interacting with our clients to end up in this moment where we have the largest database of soil microbiome worldwide, so all the crops, all the regions in the world, and that helps us to really understand where we're facing a unique situation or something that is common. So you have common circumstances, so then your reaction, your planning on the farming strategies would be different than if you face an exceptional situation, for good or for bad. If you have a high risk of having a disease that is just you, probably you have a problem. If the whole community is having or facing similar risk of a disease, probably there are already solutions. So this is the kind of value that we provide.
And there's so many factors here. So I'm wondering, because like the first clients, vineyards, like when you started Biome Makers? Yeah, they were.
That was 2015.
Yeah. And so I'm curious because that's huge, right? That's a huge niche. And then even regionally, you could probably be busy at just vineyards in Spain, just vineyards in Italy, just vineyards in, so like regionally, where did you decide to go first?
Yeah, that's a great question because or the founding team of Biome Makers, Alberto Acedo and myself, were originally from Spain, but Biome Makers is a US-based company. We partner with the largest biotech company in the genomic space, Illumina, joined their corporate accelerator program. And in May 2015, we took the backpack, fly to San Francisco, set up there, and started Biome Makers. So the international component was already there and has been part of our DNA always. But starting in vineyards in California, with the background that we had, so my grandfather made wine. Alberto's family also is into the wine business. So it was very easy to focus on one initial crop that we could tackle globally. When I say globally, from the US and Europe. So those are like the main qualitative producing areas for vineyards. Sorry for the rest because that's not really true, because there are other areas in the world where you find amazing growers, wine growers. And progressively we were expanding. So we wanted to be global from the beginning, and that was a great way to start. And 3 years later, 2018, when we found the values of big crop born, then we start expanding to other crops.
Yeah, because it's so interesting because I'm sure there's a different kind of makeup of the soil in all different regions, even probably within California as well. So it seems like a complex thing to do. I want to get into the client evolution. So it started with vineyards. How did it evolve from there? Because I know now you help a number of different types of companies.
Exactly. So just coming back to your initial question, the soil is different when you look at it from the taxonomic point of view. But when you look at it from the functional point of view, it's very similar. So there are singularities. The environment impact a lot this, but think about humans. I mean, we're different. No, each one, if you compare the different races even, so we look different, but at functional level, our body works the same. There is some similarities. So it's easier to compare, and a doctor can treat a patient from Africa and can treat a patient from Russia or Asia, wherever. So that's what is important. Now, coming back to your question on clients. We started with farmers and agronomists. So those were like the segment that we were tackling at the beginning and learning a lot on the soil interactions, because you mentioned that you already host a guest, a soil scientist or soil guy. We're soil people, but we're not all of us specialize in soil. So that came later or progressively, because what we are is technology enthusiasts. So we are biome makers. So we like nature, the biome part, the living part of the ecosystem, and makers. This is the movement that when you see a problem without a solution, you make it. So that's the reason, because the name of the company is that. So that we're a group of people with different skills, different talent, different background, that we mix and merge all of the skills in order to serve, in this case, agriculture, and to improve the way we manage the soil. Progressively, as we learn on this dimension, we start upgrading or finding different segments or market segments, like retailers, so the people selling the inputs, manufacturers, the companies producing the inputs that are going to be used in agriculture. And the last segment that currently is growing a lot, connected to the sustainability programs that they have, are CPGs, because they realize that it's not just about spending money in sustainability, but actually using the money to improve the whole production system for them. And we're a good tool for them.
Well, CPGs then obviously, if they have kind of the full chain of everything, or will the CPGs basically refer you to kind of the farmers and manufacturers side?
Yeah, well, they have the scope 3, that is most of the companies right now, not just CPGs, have the goal, and this is important, to be carbon neutral, right? So when you think about the different sources of carbon emissions in a company, your providers are part of that. So for CPGs, the providers are the farmers. So if you're going to spend some money on sustainability, not just for your internal processes, you want to help your providers to be greener, and helping farmers is the best thing we can do. Because they're the ones responsible of taking care of our land and using the land to produce the food we eat. So that job is extremely important, and any help they can receive or we can give them is going to be really welcome. So on one hand, we are able to guide or help them on the agronomic practices, what would be the best way to manage the soil or complement the different inputs in order to ensure that the yield in their fields is going to be great while preserving the natural fertility of the soil. That's going to be very, very useful. At the same time, it's not just about carbon emission, because agriculture used to be a carbon negative activity. Not anymore. So in the last 50 years, agriculture has become carbon positive. So probably we can evolve the way we farm, become smarter, that there is a new wave of solutions in the market that can help. So all the biologicals, the prebiotics and probiotics for the field, for the soil, that are going to be very helpful to really, complement the input strategy, lower the carbon emissions, and at the end of the day, benefit all of us and make the soil active carbon sequestrators, that this is something we need as humans. This is one value that we help CPGs. On the other hand, if they are helping their providers, they are securing the supply chains. And in certain crops, talking about coffee, cacao, banana, this is very important. Those kind of commodities, well, there is high competition. If you secure your market and the supply of the crop, then your business is safer. That's the second dimension. And the third one, you start segmenting those providers according to their practices with a rating system, so you can reward those that are being greener or more responsible to their practices. This is the whole value package for the CPGs.
I was going to say, it's interesting because your background's in economics. And so like, how did you get to Biome Makers? But I kind of see the connection now. It's like a supply and demand thing, which is directly related to economics, because the CPG have an invested interest in, if there's more crops, I mean, that could decrease their cost of goods, and also obviously just make it, just more reliable, so they're not, stuck. But, from a client perspective, so there's a technology side perspective. This is highly technical. And there's like the sales side. I'm wondering, how did you get your first clients? I mean, did you roll up to a farm and then just say, hey, like we have this? Like, how did you get some of your first clients that were on board?
We're so lucky to have the support from the Illumina Accelerator program. They connected us to the Silicon Valley Bank. By that time, the Silicon Valley Bank was the bank trusted by most of the startups, and they have one of their verticals is wine business. So Illumina connected us to Silicon Valley Bank. We found Dan Aguilar. By that time, he's not there anymore, but he was great helping us to really, find those early adopters, those wineries which were at the most disruptive companies, willing to try and give feedback and spend time with us. And that was how we really started working with some clients. It was very interesting because one of the things we did was opening a website where you can order a single test. By that time, our business model was based on test. So you do a test, you pay a test. That's all, simple. And we received an order from Washington State. And I was like, wow, and we're not ready to deliver. But I called the client and say, hey, we just started. Thank you. So you pay us $700 for 5 tests. That was like great. but I don't know if we're going to be able to deliver. We're going to do our best. If not, we'll return the money. What happens is that we have to return the money because we spend 7 weeks to deliver the results, and I commit to 6 weeks. So, but deliver the results, receive the feedback, and we're still working with that client. So actually, there is a growing interest,
You kind of
and
made
this
it
is
a
completely.
no-brainer offer. You're like, if it doesn't work, we'll give you the money back. No risk on their
I
end.
Yeah, well, no risk, but they pay in advance. That's another thing, right? So, but you knew, I mean, these guys knew nothing about us and they were eager to try this. So that was like, okay, a test, a proof of concept that there is growing interest on soil health.
Is that program, Adrian, still in existence? Is it called Illumina, or what is it?
Illumina, they have evolved now is Illumina Ventures.
Okay.
They are still around, and
Yeah.
what is cool is because we're using genetics for the whole process. They are supporting entrepreneurs proposing innovative ideas, business ideas
This is it right
around
here.
the
Illumina Ventures.
exactly
Yeah.
around the biotech.
Mm.
So that helped us a lot. I always say that the crew that by that time, Mustafa Ronagi, Amanda Kashin, Courtney McKinney, those were the people who really helped us to be here today.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. How did you even hear about this? So, because you were in
Oh,
Spain at the time, right?
exactly. It was so interesting because we saw a tweet from the former CEO and president of Illumina, Francis de Souza. We're looking for startups doing great things in DNA sequencing. That was all. So we applied. We submit an idea, have a couple of Skype meetings by that time.
Yeah.
Skype meetings. You remember
Oh
that
yeah,
platform?
I mean that's what I was using when I was doing podcasting in 2008, 9. I would have to teach
Or
people to
Teams.
install Skype so we can do video over it. Yeah, totally.
So 3 meetings, and they invited us to do a proof of concept. That was January 2015. May 2015, we were selected. So the adventure started.
What did life look like personally for you then? Because it's obviously a big commitment to leave your country and go to a different country and start living with the startup.
Yeah,
Like, do you have kids at
yeah.
the time? Do you have a spouse at the time? Like, what does that look like that you just picked up and you're like, I'm going to the US?
Well, life gives a lot of cycles, the situation. No, but Alberto and me know since we were children, we were practicing judo together back in Spain, and with a lot of confidence, trust together. And we were speaking. It's like if we don't do this, we're going to regret the whole life. So it's like let's do it. But I mean, this is a life experience. Whatever happens. So we did it. Some people is actually afraid of that because all the conditions that can be as wide as you can imagine. But actually, when you do it, everything is easier and more exciting. And actually, we've been 10 years living out of that idea and that action. And the reason because we're speaking today, and hopefully I can share this experience so some people get inspired, is because we did that step. And well, you would risk for sure, but the potential gain is huge and the life experience is unique. So you have to make it.
Why, like, tell me the initial idea for the company. Because when I look at your background in economics, I'm not thinking he's going to start a biome company where he's analyzing soil. Like, why this?
As you mentioned, I'm an economist, and I was working in a consultancy firm. I'm partner. It's called Funding Box for funding for innovation. Okay, mainly R&D grants, or granting schemes with the European Commission. So I was supporting, helping so many projects in Europe, and I knew a lot about funding, but not fundraising from the, let's say, startup point of view. And then I have one day a beer with Alberto, and we decide to, well, join forces and build our first company. He's PhD in molecular biology, and he had this crazy idea of applying DNA sequencing from a saliva from a saliva test to help doctors to prescribe the best treatment for cancer.
Hmm.
So
So
that
you
was
do
our
like
first
a
company.
saliva test, and it basically helps analyze for just more a specific treatment for cancer.
Predisposition to hereditary cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what were your factors? Imagine breast cancer, and according to the scientific literature, the best way of proceed. So it was so interesting that by that time, doctors were telling us, I cannot prescribe a treatment based on a saliva test. And we were like, who cares if it's saliva or blood or whatever? It's a cell and there is DNA. And so now it's so common, no? Remember COVID? It was either nasal or saliva, so you can't do this kind of test easily. Anyway, so the first company was this genetic diagnostic center specialized in DNA sequencing in human diseases, focusing human diseases. We were working with hospitals, and some of them started to ask about microbiology. So then we realized that not many people were using DNA sequencing to really understand or learn about microbiology. Researchers, mainly in the academia, but not in the, let's say, real world. Real world researchers are in the real world.
Yeah.
You know
I
where,
mean, because I
right?
do see a lot of, yeah, that's what I mean. It's interesting because I see a lot of parallels to when you talk about the soil biome, and then you hear a lot of people talking about how important the gut biome is from like, the bacteria and all the everything interacting in the gut and how important that is for health. So I'm starting to see that, but it started off almost like for humans.
Well, there's as you mentioned, there's a clear connection. So if you think about the human disorders and the human deaths, many are caused by gut disorders, and these are microbial or gut microbiome. And for us, nature was an aspect that is very important, very crucial, but at the same time, health. No, so how can we combine this? So the natural link is food, where what we eat. Now there is this way of thinking that says or states make your food the medicine or the medicine become your food. So we're what we eat, and if we eat healthy, we're going to be healthy. And right now we see that the crops that we're receiving, let's say there are a lot of nutrients in the food or the lot of vitamins and so on is much lower than 30 years ago or 10 years ago. So one orange has a lot of water, but is not feeding us in the same way. So imagine if we think about this at global level, we're punishing ourselves because we're growing the food just thinking about the weight, the number, the pounds that we're producing. And perhaps we can decrease 5-10% the production. If we increase the quality, we're going to need to eat less. Now everybody's talking about the superfoods, no, the high protein food and so on, trying to recover seeds. And so there is a connection, and there's another trend that is called One Health, no? And I really believe that we're going to save a lot of money on healthcare system if we eat better. And we're going to suffer less, have more healthy lifestyle. We're going to feel better. And probably there is also some mind health, how you say this? Sorry, I missed
Mental health?
the word. Mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health is also conditioned by our day-to-day routine. So, yeah, there is a straight connection. And how can we bring value here? Obviously, Biome Makers, let's go to the origin. That's where we have a clear value proposition, and that's what we're doing.
I want to talk about some of the milestones. At
Mhm.
what point do you decide to raise money?
Well, actually, that was from the beginning. The goal, the journey that we envisioned was really big. So we needed to develop technology, we needed to test, to build this database, to create a new market. And you cannot do it by, let's say, bootstrapping, because there is not a market there that you can rely on to keep growing. So in the just after the Illumina Accelerator program, We closed our seed round, a mixture of mainly Californian and European investors. It worked really well. With that money, we completed the first journey of the first milestone, which is let's develop the technology, prove that we can bring value, and have some clients, still some very early traction. After that, we raised Series A, so to keep growing the client base and improve the technological stack, so do things better. And in 2000, that was 2019, and 2021, we closed our Series B, where you start optimizing everything and prepare to scale. That was 2021. Since then, we've been growing moderately, not like I wish it was like 20x growth rate, interannual growth rate. But well, it's growing, which is good, and we're optimizing. And right now we're just looking the profitability, so we decrease the dependency of external funding, and the market will tell us what's next.
I'd love to hear mentors and some of the advice you got. When I'm looking, we're like at biomakers.com. You have, obviously, people can check this out, the core values, the rockstar team, and then you have some advisory board members. I don't know if those would be good to talk about some of the lessons you learned from them, from Dan and Jay.
Yeah, Jay and Dan are, well, the current members of the advisory board, but we've received an amazing load of energy that has been helping us to really make this journey and to find the success that we have at this stage. From different perspectives, how to build the company, how to grow the company, how to create a team, market-wise, product-wise, so all the areas. Also, support for entrepreneurs. There is ups and downs. This is a roller coaster. It's a topic, but it's real. I mean, you learn to be flat in emotions, because otherwise, some days you will go party crazy because everything is going great. Other times you will suicide because everything goes wrong. So having those advisors on the different areas is extremely important. We've been very lucky to have them. Jay and Dan are helping us to mainly grow the market. So they are very influential. They know everyone in the industry, and that's how we're using them. The rest, we agree that the latest update on the website, we're going to have a new look and feel, and took away all the people with the emotion. Actually, we have personal connections and keep speaking to all of them. It's so important to have people backing you up. You cannot do the journey. It's not just the family, it's not the friends that are a key piece, key pillar to keep you there, but all the people that not always, and this is important, with a contribution expectation. So they do it willingly without asking anything in return, because they share, they're kind, and it's very helpful. And now we're the ones doing that to others, because otherwise this will not work in the same way.
Adrian, have you found certain events that you have been valuable for you from an industry perspective, like specific trade shows or conferences that you like to attend?
Yeah, actually, there are a huge amount of events, honestly speaking. So you can get lost and spend all the money that you have just by going to the events. And sometimes it's not as worth. It's great because you meet the same people more or less, and you meet clients. And it's so surprising for me that now I'm not doing as much commercial activity as I used to. So it's great to have a commercial team, but sometimes you get a little bit far from your clients, honestly speaking. And in some events, people come to me and say, "Hey, we're a client of yours," or I start talking to somebody, and I know you. You're wow. It's like so rewarding, so great. But if I have to name some events in the agtech specific, there are two events. Well, there are many, no, but there are like big ones. One happening in San Francisco, the other one is rotating mainly. So it was recently in New Delhi, the BioAg World Conference, or the World Agri-Tech Conference. So at the end of the day, the names are similar. But yeah, there are many conferences that are there. All of them have certain level of value, but I will be very we're very selective now on those events.
I know you started, you mentioned with the vineyards and you've helped potato companies, corn companies, and you mentioned kind of the superfoods. I'm wondering from a tropical crops perspective, what have you seen and what have you done with the company?
We're so curious, and that's the first thing. So we have this program that is called Fields Forever, where we support farmers, agronomy researchers who are doing things that are unique and perhaps small. Commercially speaking, we work with large growers, and when we talk about tropical crops, we're talking about palms, we're talking about the sugarcane, we're talking about banana, coffee, cacao. So the main corn for sure everywhere in the world. Those are the main crops that we cover. Potatoes is one of the crops where we see that the value is the highest, at least from the feedback that we receive from the clients in the US, Australia as well. And because we found situations where the farmer got a 40% yield increase because they have a very difficult situation in the field, and we're able to tell them exactly what was happening, and there were two dimensions that had to be restored, and they did it. But the starting point was so bad. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to get 40% yield increase in potatoes by looking at the biological activity, but that's a very good case. Or, for instance, in vineyards, we have so many cases. One of them, they call it the golden vineyard, so the best vineyard, where they were getting the grapes for the high-end wine bottles, $800 a bottle of wine. And it was so curious that we saw that the soil was not working really well. It's so interesting. So there was no disease risk at all. So nutrient mobilization was really specialized. There were some blocks, stimulation. The overall quality of the soil, the biodiversity was really low. So they were so proud of the land. And what we told them is, hey, be aware that if you keep doing what you are doing, whatever you are doing, that field is not going to be as productive, because you are killing literally, or the plants, they are getting isolated from the nature. No, you have to spend more money, even more, to be sure that the plants. So it doesn't make any sense, because in grapevines, make the plant to be stressed by natural factors increases the quality of the grapes for winemaking. Okay, depending what is your goal. If you're looking for pounds, then no. So yeah, we have plenty of cases in different crops that are so curious to see.
I want to hear more about the offerings, because I know you said initially, okay, let's just do a test and we'll start there. I know you have a lot of different offerings, and I'm curious how companies engage with you. So right now I'm at the biomemakers.com/solutions. Can you talk through how do people use you?
Actually, it's very easy. We have 3 solutions. The single test, you can do 1, 3, 10, whatever number of tests you want to do. We receive the soil samples, yep. We deliver a report, exactly, and then that's all.
They just mail them to you. They take a test tube, mail it to you.
Exactly. We send the sampling kits. There is partner labs, depending on the country you are. So yeah, and you receive the report based on the sample, and that's all. You need certain guidance, or at least an agronomist who knows how to action that. If you have a specific question, or you are making a trial of some solution, then you need a bunch of tests, and then compute the data in a certain way to isolate the specific effect of whatever you've done in the field. This is how we work with most of the input manufacturers. They have a solution that they go into the field, they want to test. So you do different locations, before and after, a control treated to erase the environmental effect. And this is what we call big crop trials. Okay. And But what is the best in class solution is what we call the micro farm. Here is the real SaaS model. There is not a price per cell, there is a price per acre. So what happens is that you upload the field boundaries of directly or indirectly through a third-party platform like FieldView, John Deere, CNH, whatever you have. So the maps into our system. Our system calculates the biological areas in that farm, place where they need samples, send you the sample kits with the sampling map. We receive the samples and then we deliver the results in map with a really high level resolution. So you don't need to see like one report and then see what I do in the whole farm. No, you can see the map, kind of heat map, no, in a
Yeah,
visual
we're
way
looking
that is
at it
very
here, right? Like this is
es-
kind of what we're looking at.
exactly. That's how we
You can kind of see
usually
there's like a map here.
is. Yeah, and probably if you go down or dive into the big crop farm, you will see some more specific example. And what is extremely cool of there you go. If what is extremely cool on this, and this is where the AI happens. So there is some AI in between with the sonification and sample placement and
Oh,
so
here it
on.
is. Yeah.
It's we provide a digital generated recommendation on biologicals. So we tell you which specific product category, not the brand, we're independent, we're brand agnostic, but which product category, algae-based biostimulant, a microbial-based biostimulant with bacillus, whatever is the best for your field in order to increase the yield and or no, it could be condition soil health. Okay, because that's how it works. There, the maps will show up. So, and there is also a map of needs. Not many farmers are currently do precise applications of biologicals, but there you have the information ready to go. So it's the first time there is a tool available for recommendation of biologicals. And believe me that the sector has huge doubts on what is the best biological that they have to sell to their clients. And this is the question we solve.
First of all, Adrian, this is fascinating. There's so many moving pieces to this, and it's. I just want to thank you for sharing the journey and the lessons along the way. I encourage people to check out biomemakers.com. I have one last question. I'm just curious, what are you seeing as a growing market for you? I don't know why. I've been hearing a lot in kind of in the cannabis space. I mean, this applies to any type of crop. What have you seen? Because you probably get firsthand of like the inquiries. What do you see as a growing market from your experience from a crops perspective?
From the crop perspective, the usual suspects. Corn is the main crop. We were not expecting that, but this is happening. Brazil is one of the markets that is growing very quick because of the extension they have on corn, soy, potatoes, tomatoes. We're doing a lot of tomatoes as well. So progressively is increasing the opportunity. We currently have 270 crops active. So most of the industrial crops, watermelons and golf courses are growing very quick as well.
Golf courses.
Yeah. What is very interesting also is to see the trends in agriculture. Now, probably you've heard about regenerative agriculture, where people start mixing different crops in the same space because there is positive synergies between them, and they save a lot in inputs. Manpower. So there is benefits and the production, let's say the profitability of the farm makes sense. So it's positive. It's higher than just doing industrial raw flat crops. But well, usual suspects are the main markets. We want to see more and more people really lowering the fear to this new dimension that is the soil biology, the life of the soil. Most of the agronomists hasn't been educated on this dimension. They had one or two courses during the school. Everything is about fertility plants. Now it's about fertility plus biostimulant plus biocontrol plus all kind of things. So we need tools like the ones we develop. This is my commercial pitch. Not that this is real. We need to make this easier for the people who is in charge, and they have all kind of variables to try to control. Weather is the main one that we cannot control. We can forecast that it's going to rain, it's not. That's the main problem. Temperature is going to be raised or not. But beyond that, all the variables, if we can help the agronomist, the farmer, to simplify the whole process and give them like the best conclusion, recommendation, insight, then we've done what we need to do.
Adrian, thank you so much. Everyone check out biomemakers.com to learn more. We'll see everyone next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.